Morning, everyone. Oh, nice. I thought everyone is still sleeping. Slightly awake. Okay, so I hear this is the first presentation for the semester, so welcome back. And I am going to talk about, can AI hear everyone? Sorry. It is looking at the music side of AI, and is AI actually hearing everybody's music? So I'm going to play a video, watch the video, and see if the instrument looks or sounds real. Don't worry, you don't have to talk. Listen to the first video, listen to the second video, and then I'll ask a question and you just put your hand up. Does that work? Yeah? Cool. Okay. Anyone recognize the instrument? Recognize the instrument? No? Okay, I'll play it again. Just listen. Okay, the second one. One more time. Okay, which one sounded maybe correct? The first one or the second one? The first one? Which one sounded completely off? Second one, good. Why? What was the instrument here? Yeah. And how did the harp sound? Wrong. Sounded a bit Chinese? Yeah? But the first one, this is a Chinese instrument, so for those of you who don't know, it's called the gucheng. Does this sound a little bit more right? So what I did was, I swapped the audios for both videos. So the audio that you heard on the second video was actually meant for the first video. And the audio that you hear here is actually the sound of the harp. Now, why does the second video sound more wrong? Because we are so used to listening to how the harp sounds. Whether we play the harp or not, we roughly know how it sounds. And this is where the danger lies, because although the gucheng is a Chinese South Asian instrument, the majority of us here are Asians, and we still think that, yeah, probably that's how it sounds. It's a plucked instrument, so you have the plucking sound, but the genre that's played on it is actually the sound of a harp. So what I'm trying to tell you here is, this is the bias that happens in AI platforms, because AI platforms are trained on 94% of Western sounds. Western music, Western instruments, Western timbre, Western tuning. This is what it's being trained on. So when you look at something and you hear a Western sounding instrument, the instrument may not be right, but the audio is Western, you don't pick it up as much. But the minute you see a Western instrument, you expect to hear Western elements on the instrument. Does that make sense? And you picked it up very well. Yep. So let's look at the next one. Okay. So you're going to see 3 videos of the same audio. Tell me which one you think fits the instrument. Okay, I'll play it again. Okay, first, second, or third? Third. Second? How many of you all say second? All right. How many of you all say third? How many of you all say first? Was the first one? Did it sound like the first one? Let's listen to it again. Here's the first one. Second. So which one did it fit? First one? Okay. Second one? And third? So the sound that you heard was the sound of a sitar. And the instrument is the one on the screen. So for those of you who said the instrument sounded like the third image, yes, you're right. But for those of you who said the instrument sounded like the second image, you're not, I would understand why, or it would make sense because they come from the same region. So the second instrument is called the santur. It's from the Middle East, and it's very popular in North India. The first instrument, any of the Chinese students know what it is? Yeah, it's the pipa, right? So what you heard just now was a raga, which is a melodic mode, played on the sitar. So why did the first one sound correct for some of y'all? Because you've never seen the instrument before, and you've never heard how the instrument sounds. So the minute you hear plucking sounds and you see the video of somebody plucking the instrument, you think, yeah, it makes sense. It's probably how the instrument sounds. And this is what AI is doing. If we, as the consumers, all of y'all who use AI music platforms, do y'all use Suno? Mubert? Lyria? All these music platforms. If you use it and you don't know what it's giving you, that's when it becomes very, very dangerous. Because we tend to trust AI and we trust the output without questioning it. So what I'm trying to tell you guys today is, when you prompt something, and when you put in a prompt, and when you receive the feedback, and when you receive the audio or video or words that come out, question it. All right? Don't take it as the gospel truth. Okay? So we have a very, very narrow diet. 94% of Western music is what AI is trained on. 5.7 is non-Western, and Southeast Asian, which is where we belong, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, is 0.9. All right? So you cannot produce what you've never learned. So imagine if a robot only eats burgers and fries. What do you think happens when you ask it to make a gourmet sushi dish? So your Western music data is this, and you feed it into AI, and then suddenly you say, oh, I'm thinking of having sushi today. You're going to have a sushi-looking burger. You will still have Western elements in the output because it has been taught and it has been trained on Western elements. Okay, so what we're trying to do with the research that I'm doing is to start training AI models with more Asian and non-Western music sounds and music elements. So know how to prompt. This is very important. The lazy prompt is create traditional AI music. So I did this on Suno, just to give everyone an example. It's a broad, overly vague, and it relies on a very sweeping cultural stereotype. So when I prompted on Suno and said, create traditional AI Asian music, this is what I got. Which part of the region do you think this music comes from? Yeah. So the minute you give a vague prompt, you get a generalized response. And Asia is always China. So the prompt that I put in was a very vague prompt, and the response that I get was something I completely expected. I did not expect it to give me Malaysian music or Indian music or Indonesian music, because the minute you say Asian, AI only knows China. Now, the same platform, I said, create a piece using a sitar-style melody, tabla-like rhythmic patterns. Tabla is a percussion instrument, and ornamentations inspired by Hindustani classical music. So now the prompt is a little bit more precise, it's more technical, and it's culturally grounded, because I said Hindustani classical music. How does the music sound? Now, that's Indian music. And it sounds pretty accurate. For those of us who are not trained classically, it sounds pretty accurate. This is, the one I'm going to play now is an original sitar recording that's not AI generated. Does it sound almost the same? So AI platforms are beginning to start training their models on more non-Western sounds. But the responsibility is on us, on you guys, to make sure you use correct prompts. Don't be lazy with how you prompt when you want to get feedback, or you want to get music that's going to be used for something. Be specific in what you're asking. Okay? So the anatomy of a better prompt, be specific. The name of the exact instrument rather than the genre. Be technical, because you want to describe the actual music mechanics and style. And be respectful. That means you want to identify the specific cultural tradition so that you bypass generic outputs. Unless you're looking for generic outputs. But if you're looking for something specific, then you have to be very specific in what you're asking for. Right? You don't go to McDonald's and say, I think I want to have a burger, but actually you want to have a Big Mac. And if he gives you a chicken burger, you get upset. You didn't say you wanted a chicken burger or a Big Mac, you just said you wanted a burger. Right? So the idea here is to be specific in what you're asking for. So you be the equalizer now. You be the expert. The first step is actually to acknowledge the gap. You have to know that there is a gap in the AI platforms. So remember the 0.9%. Step 2, reject defaults. Don't automatically accept the digital burger. Question what you're actually listening to. Question the output. And the third step is you engineer the details. You can re-prompt, be specific, be technical, and be respectful. Re-prompt so that you get the feedback that you want. You cannot instantly fix the AI's training data, but you have 100% control over how you prompt.